Let's go across to our guest joining us. Rajat Sethi is a former advisor to the Manipur CM. Nishikant Sapam, independent MLA from the Meitei community, is joining us. Meeta Chakrabarti is a Congress spokesperson. Also, Rami Desai is an author who's worked extensively on the Northeast region. Let me begin with a couple of our experts before I bring in a political guest. Rami, why don't I begin with you? It's been a month. Many people would say the situation should have been controlled by now. So where are we going wrong as far as controlling the situation is concerned, and what needs to be done?
Good evening, Shivani. I'm really glad that news channels like yours are following this up on a day-to-day basis. Having said that, as you mentioned, I have been traveling the Northeast for the last 15 years. I've seen Northeast in in a state of flux, in relative conflict, and I've seen Northeast in the last 5 years in relative peace. And, this is absolutely unfortunate, but the fact of the matter is that the genesis of this sort of conflict is not new. It has its roots in history. And this is not just a Kuki or a Meitei conflict. There is a Meitei, there's a Kuki and a sub-clan Kuki conflict as well. If we look at 1997, there was a huge conflict huge clashes between the Kukis and the Meiteis, So this has been going on for a while. And of course, things are always sensitive. I have found, and I have focused on insurgency and conflict in this region, and I found that Manipur to be one of the most complex states, if we were to look at it from the spectrum of security. There are no easy answers here. Apart from the inter-ethnic tribes, under the umbrella of one tribe also you have ethnic conflict, plus you have the Myanmar border, which directly impacts us, and one cannot deny the influx of migration. 30,000 refugees from the same Kuki clan have been registered in Mizoram. Unfortunately, there hasn't been that kind of registration in Manipur. But, there's no way to deny that there hasn't been a demographic change. So there are lots of, multi-levels of insecurities on both ends. There are multi-levels, layers of problems on both ends. And I'm sure we'll come to those questions later. But having said that, there are no easy answers. And I think the fact of the matter is that, our Home Minister is going there to review the situation.
Yeah.
And at this point, the security spectrum is the only spectrum that we can view this situation with and keep it calm, because any sentence, any statement, any move is going to flare the situation up.
Okay.
Having said that, I noticed some protests. Last point, Shivani, I noticed some protests a couple of days ago where they demanded a solution before peace. I can say that there might be multiple ways to get to a solution which will take time. That is not one of it. You cannot have a solution before peace.
Right. We were also running some fresh visuals we've received of certain members of the communities welcoming Amit Shah, and obviously there will be a lot of anticipation in the communities who have been ravaged by violence. A lot of their homes have been lit up and, set to arson, so that there is some peace and calm that comes back. Rajat, I want to come to you. The Chief Minister says that actually this is not a conflict between the two communities. It is basically Kuki terrorists who are terrorizing members of the communities. But would that be a one-sided way to look at this?
It is certainly a very major part of the problem. If you have terrorists wielding weapon and moving around freely and causing an atmosphere of fear among the communities, no peace process can start. And I think at this stage, Amit Shah ji going there will be the neutral arbiter who can sit with these communities and at least ensure first the militant elements are removed, their weapons are seized before any process can start. I agree with the Honorable Chief Minister here that with Kuki militants, which are being currently seen to be spread across low-lying hills surrounding the Imphal Valley, if they continue with their violent streak, if they continue wielding AK-56 and semi-automatic machine guns and pointedly targeting at the Meitei community, no talks can begin, because then the Meitei community will retaliate.
Yeah.
And, violence cannot be an answer at this stage, and you require serious deliberations between the heads of both the communities to sit across the table and at least find a common ground. And before that, the militants have to be handled, because these militants are destroying any kind of initiative that the political establishment would be interested in. Therefore, I think a ruthless approach of taming these militant and the terrorist groups that are out there is of paramount importance.
I agree with you there. Obviously, without that, nothing else can work. But what is the long-term solution? The Meiteis want the tribal tag. The Kukis are not willing to let them have it. I've just briefly explained some of the conflicts that are, emerging because of the land ownership issues. What is the larger solution? And one question I want to understand from all of our guests, is it fair to deny somebody else a tag that they have gone to court and won, or the government maybe look at it favorably? Can we give communities a right that by violence they can deny someone else the right to agitate for what they are wanting? Because that seems to be essentially what's playing out here. Rajat first, then I'll go to Mr. Nishikant.
Well, your point is correct, and I believe Nishikantji will also agree with this. Any negotiations without fear or favor, that should be the way forward. Fear because of any militant groups trying to push an agenda on communal lines should not be acceptable. And I think this is where the state administration, the central administration, everybody is geared towards, is to identify, eliminate any terror activities happening there, ensure there is the right atmosphere for negotiations to initiate. And once that is there, of course, it's a zero-sum game. And for every such conflict, there are always ways that you can perhaps create one common ground from where you'd start the deliberations and push the things forward. At this stage, I mean, if the current violence continues the way it is continuing, I really doubt that what's going to happen in the next 3 days that the Honorable Home Minister is there.
Okay.
Therefore, I think what the Chief Minister has been doing is to tame the violence over there unleashed by the militant outfits. That's of paramount importance, and that should be finished off before any talks start. This is my independent opinion.
Right.